This is 2.1, day 2, continuation of quadratic functions. What we focused on in the last lesson is how to graph quadratic functions with the 3 different forms: standard form, factored form, vertex form. Today we're going to write quadratic functions given either our graph is Treble's graphed out, or we give you a vertex and a point, or we give you two x-intercepts. Here's our first example. So we give you a picture of a parabola. The parabola opens down. It has two x-intercepts and a y-intercept given on the graph. And we want to find out what is the equation of this function. So step 1 is to identify what the two x-intercepts are. So what are the two x-intercepts? -2 and 7. Then we're going to rewrite it in factored form. So remember when we were finding x-intercepts, we would set the equation equal to 0 and we'd solve for x, and we'd use the zero product property and set the factors equal to 0 and solve for x? Remember how they always turn out to be opposite signs? So if I gave you an equation that looked like this, 0 equals x plus 3 and then x minus 5, and you would set those equal to 0 and solve for x. So you get x plus 3 equals 0, and then x minus 5 equals 0. So then x equals -3 and x equals 5. Those would be the x-intercepts. Notice the signs. Right here and right here, they're always opposite. So we have to think opposite in step 2 when we write the equation in factored form. So in this blue equation, what's going to go in those two missing parentheses? So it's going to be 2, so +2, and then a -7. We did not do this in Algebra 2. We focused on just graphing quadratic functions, finding the x-intercepts, finding the y-intercept, finding that vertex, and graphing it out. So you're going to notice that most of Chapter 2 is going to be new topics for you. We've kind of focused so far this trimester on review of Algebra 2 with a couple new things. The rigor of this class, it will be more difficult as we move through the rest of the year now. Yes, sir?
So there's no final, or do you have to
No.
do a form?
So what we have to still find is one thing, the A. Remember, the A tells me a couple things. If it's a positive A, it opens up. If it's a negative A, it opens down. It also tells me how wide my graph is. Is it a parabola that's really wide? Or maybe it's really skinny? That's what A tells us. So what we have to do is go out and find A, and that's going to be part of step 3. So step 3 is to go out and identify what A is. To find the A, we go out and look at the graph again, and we look at one point, an extra point on the graph. So they gave us two x-intercepts. They also gave us one more point, and it becomes the y-intercept, 0, 4 in this case. So we're going to look at this point right here next, 0, 4, to help find our A. So that y-intercept or other identifiable point on the graph is what you're going to identify. So it's over 0, up 4. Then in part B, we're going to plug that ordered pair into the equation and solve for A. And that'll tell us, does the graph open up or down? In this case, our graph was opening up or down. Our graph was opening up, so we should end up getting a positive A.
It's only down.
Was it? Oh, sorry, it's opening down. So it should be negative A. Thanks. I can't remember. There's another example that's going to be opening up. All right. So this represents the x in the equation. This represents the y in the equation. So in part B, we're going to substitute that 0 and 4 into the blue equation. So my 0 is going to go right here and right there. And then my y, which is 4, is going to go right in there. Give me some time to write that down. And then we'll substitute it in and solve for A. So here is our y value, and the y value of that point is 4. A is our unknown, and then our x value from that point was 0, so we're going to plug in 0 there, and 0 here. Now we solve for A. So let's reduce those parentheses. So 0 plus 2 is 2. 0 minus 7 is negative 7. What's the next step to solve for A? What would we do next to solve for A? Yep, multiply 2 and negative 7. So 2 and negative 7 is negative 14, and then A. And then our last step is to find A, divide by negative 14. So we get A equals 4 divided by negative 14, and we should probably reduce that down to its lowest terms, so negative 2 sevenths. The last step goes pretty quick. Just substitute that A back into our factored form equation that we found in step 1. So this A goes right back in here. Part of your homework, they do want you to convert it to standard form, yes. So right now it's in factored form. So to replace that A, your answer is going to be y equals negative 2 sevenths, x plus 2, x minus 7. In your first part of your homework, they do ask you to have the final answer in standard form, so you'd have to FOIL it out.
So when we're FOILing this out, do we do the 2 parentheses first and then distribute
Correct.
that one?
You multiply the 2 parentheses first, and then distribute the negative 2 sevenths through. There's the first problem. I'm going to stop the video there, and then we'll move on to the next example, the next video part.